Hello, all, and welcome to yet another edition of Bombay Wali Summit, hosted by She the People TV. Today, we have Taranjeet Kaur. She is an Indian actress and poet, having worked in award winning films like Aankhon Dekhi and Mouth of Hell. She is also a spoken word artist with a keen interest in women centric issues. Her poems like Girl Don't Make a Noise and or Happily Ever After address issues like sexual abuse and emotional abuse. So, hello Taranjeet and welcome to Bombay Wali Summit.
Hello, I'm glad to be a part of it.
I would like to start by recalling Michelle Yeoh's Oscar winning speech, where she said, "Ladies, don't let anybody tell you you're past your prime and never give up." Your recent poem also talks about something very similar. How do you think women can beat this narrative on this is the prime age of women, this is when they should get married, and this is when they should have a baby? So, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts?
Ragini, I think I've always believed in living life on my own terms, and I've always, been the one who's walked against the tide. So my journey as an actor began at a stage when most of the women, female actresses, they're told that, oh, you will not even get any lead roles or important parts. So I joined the industry somewhere in my late 20s or something. And when you come here and you're 30 plus, already they start offering you roles
Yeah.
as a mother or any characters which they will not even explain what you're doing in the story. So it's the most I've heard this most part of my last 10-15 years of my career, where I'm always told, oh, you passed that age, you don't look this way, you don't behave this way. And I've never believed in listening to what are the stereotypes. I think I've always believed in, if you have conviction in what you're doing and your talent, you have to constantly keep working on your skills as an artist. And then I think there's no stopping you. And that's what the latest poem talks about, that I could be 30, 40, 50, 70, any age, but I can still have the same desires and the dreams. But the only problem is with the storytellers, with the screenwriters, that they are not writing enough exciting stories for people that age. So, yes.
I read somewhere that you studied theater in Chandigarh and then you moved to Bombay for acting purposes. Tell us a bit about your storytelling journey. How did you decide on to become a spoken word artist and start this thing that I will speak my own stories?
So basically, I come from a family of artists. Both my grandparents were poets and writers. My aunts and uncles, I was surrounded by people who were either painters or poets or musicians. So our family outings were like going to attend a music concert or go up, attend a painting exhibition. So there was very little exposure to cinema. Cinema happened very late in my life. So while I was doing theater and I did these two, three important first films in my life, the German film that got the Oscar Academy Award, Raju, and Mouth of Hell that got the BAFTA, and then Aankhon Dekhi happened. After that, when I moved to Bombay and I was looking for exciting roles, I realized that I wasn't getting what I was looking for, in terms of I was a part of stories, but those were written by someone else, and the parts I felt were not exciting enough. So my journey as a spoken word artist started with my first poem called I'm Not a Virgin with unerased poetry, where I simply raise the question that why is it that a woman is always asked to prove her virginity, and there's no way to test whether a man is a virgin or not? So, why this gender disparity?
Mm.
And on one hand, the poem has more than 5 million views on YouTube and millions of views on Instagram. But on the other, I was trolled and, called all kind of names,
Yeah.
that how you can talk about these things, and how can you say that a woman should not be a virgin, and you are encouraging women to go out and have sex before marriage. So, from the very first poem, I realized that, um, it's important to raise questions in the society which make people uncomfortable, because we have lived so long, for decades and centuries now, in the we have been at the mercy of patriarchy, and every time we raise questions against it, people get uncomfortable. And now with social media, it's become really easy to start trolling people who are raising such questions.
Yeah, yeah. How I know it's very hurtful and also very discomforting to hear and read those comments. How do you tackle this criticism? Like, does it ever get to you emotionally or anything?
Ragini, honestly speaking, for the longest time, the trollers have never bothered me. It may sound strange, because as a normal reaction, it should bother you. But I always look at it, oh, that means that such a such person sitting in that village or in that town has taken out time to listen to what I'm saying. And then on one hand, where I will have 100 negative comments where people are saying that, why are you talking about sex, why are you talking about virginity, why are you talking about sex education. On the other hand, there will be thousands of women who are writing to me on my inbox in Instagram or on YouTube, and
Hmm.
they say that how they relate to what we are talking about. They have faced the same kind of, uneasiness in their families, and they have dealt with similar situations. So I think it's very comforting for me to know that if I am talking about a certain issue, when I'm talking about being brown, there are about thousands of women sharing that on Instagram, because they think that they have faced the same stereotypes, how we expect a person, I mean, of
Hmm.
any gender, to look a certain way, to be a certain way. So I think 99% I can say the trollers do not bother me. The only time it bothered me, when I spoke about sex education, that how I believe in educating my children about sex, and I think it's my responsibility to do that. But I was told, and said things about my son. So I think that was the only time I felt uncomfortable, because I am really protective, and as any mother, I really love and care for my children a lot. So that's the only space that can make me uncomfortable. Other than that, whatever issues I raise, whatever subjects I talk about, I have no problems with the trollers.
Hmm. Um, do you somewhere when you speak about more women come up to you and say we can relate to this is what we also have been conditioned to, we have grown up seeing such things. Do you think this relatability factor comes in when women speak their own stories, they come forward and they put their voice forward? Do you see a change in narrative? Do you find if women continue to doing so,
Yeah,
there is a,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
I think it's very important for us as women to start telling our own stories, whether it's in storytelling, poetry, or in cinema. It's important for us to tell our own stories, for more women writers, filmmakers, directors to come. I attended Cannes Film Festival, where in 2019, where we had like a she squad. It was called Yes She Cans. So there has to be an equal representation of women in every field, and it's just not for saying that, oh, we want equal space, we want equal rights. It's because when you are telling a story, a female story, from a man's point of view, who's the writer or the director of the film, it will be his perspective. So a few years ago, we made a film. I had written and produced this short film called Love, Sex, Soprano, where we talk about a journey of a woman who, as you're growing up as a teenager, you have these very flowery, very beautiful dreams about having a partner, and then she enters a relationship which is very destructive, from the point that, always, even in sex, it has been dominated by the male, by patriarchy. It's always about the satisfaction of man. Why can't a woman tell her partner, male or female, that how she wants to be satisfied, how she wants equal pleasure? So we need to raise these questions, and this can only happen. And I worked with a female director, Srimoi, and this can only happen when you have females, women, or non-male, telling the stories from their perspective, and the storytelling, the writing, the direction, everything is done by women.
Yeah, and it also um, comes down to the comfort of artists when they find that there are more women on sets, there are women writers, there are women directors. There's a inherent female gaze on that story, and it is a comfort. It also helps them to be more comfortable to portray those characters. I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have to start working towards, I mean, we are already working in that space. We have to work in the space of female gaze, because it's really important to make women comfortable when they are on a set, when they are in any kind of space. It can be theater or cinema. And on our set for Love, Sex, Soprano, we had 95% women. And in future, whatever stories I want to tell as an artist, I do want to give more space to women.
Mhm.
Not that I don't want to work with men. I will have men on my set, but obviously anyone who fits the part. But also because women have not been given representation, and we also need to work towards, equal pay for equal work
Mhm.
in the space of art, because this has been happening in corporate, but in the field of art, there are no set parameters that how much an artist should be paid for a certain work. So every time someone approaches me for a project, and they always come up with these independent projects saying, oh, we don't have enough money. And I say, I don't mind working for less, as long as I know that you're giving the equal amount of pay to my male counterpart who is working for these number of days. So I
Mhm.
think it is our responsibility to raise these issues and to get equal space in the industry we're working in.
Mm. Uh, when you talk about space, do you see a change coming up? Do you see a change when it comes to women storytellers, that they are taking up space, they are taking up their charge on and behind the camera to rewrite their own stories? Because uh, for as long as I remember, we have had men taking up the stance, and I just want to know, how can men even help in creating those spaces, those safe spaces for women to write their own narratives?
Uh, yeah, most definitely. I have seen the change happening in the last 8 years of my moving to Bombay, and with every passing day, I know more and more female writers, screenplay writers, directors,
Hmm.
DOPs, and editors, sound designers. They are there. They are qualified. Now the point is only of giving them those opportunities, and which is the decision lies with the producers, with the creative producers, creative directors, that they have to trust that even if she's a woman, she can, run this whole project on her own. So
Hmm.
the people who hold that power have to start trusting and giving equal representation to women, which is happening. Like now, Guneet Monga, she's come home with an Oscar, and that is a very female centric team. The writers are women and the directors women. Definitely the change is happening, but I wouldn't say it's 100%. It's still
Yeah,
happening at a slow pace. Yeah.
right, right. Uh, we are almost towards the end of our session. I want to know, what is this one advice that you would like to give to the young storytellers of today? But you also think, you also hope that this advice was given to you when you were just starting out.
See, I would just say if you're a storyteller or a spoken word artist, I would just say get up every morning, try to write at least one page every day, try to go to as many open mics as possible. The more you are on stage, the more confidence you'll get, and that's where all the curators go, and someone will find you someday and give you an opportunity to be on a bigger stage. So writing, performing, practicing are the key things towards being a successful storyteller. As well as, I would say, if you are somebody who wants to raise questions that make people uncomfortable, or you want to bring a positive change in the society, then don't be scared, don't be afraid to ask those questions.
Yeah. uh, it is so wonderful to hear someone say, ki find your voice, find those questions, and let be heard. We would also want you to perform for us, for our viewers, whichever whatever poem that you would like uh, to showcase on our platform.
Okay, just give me a minute. I think I'll read this one, which I spoke about love, sex, soprano, and I can perform the whole piece, and you can choose what you like. I was 13 when I first felt the flutter in my heart. The first time he looked at me, just the brush of our hands, just sitting on the next bench was enough to get the hormones go crazy. The first night when I waited with bated breath for you to enter the room and love me through the night. You came, undressed, and fucked me. Every time I would wait to have a conversation that felt like love, the touch that would draw me closer to you. I would wait for someone to hold me in his arms, whisper sweet nothings before drawing me to ecstasy. But your ways were simpler. You would hold me tight night after night to pull my legs and thrust till you arrived. I would scream, but lay unsatiated. And I would spend the rest of the night looking at the ceiling, wondering where was love in all this. Every time you turned your back after having the pleasure of my body, I would wonder, what about me? Did you ever think that me too, I needed to feel the pleasure that a woman feels when she's loved? And here I was, empty, unfulfilled, unsatiated. Till few days ago, when I looked into the mirror and smiled at this woman who laughed at me. When did you stop loving yourself? Your love for life, your spirit to fly and never say die. I lay in bed touching every single pore of me. The arms that held me tight to comfort me. The hands that loved the roundness of my breast that could feed and nourish. My feet entangling in each other till the wetness of my being reached a high, leaving me happy and loved. I could say with pride, I love myself, my dear, and I could satiate myself and make love to me. For I'm done with you and I'm happy as one can be.
Wow, it's amazing. Oh, very, very, very amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming here and delivering this powerful poem. I'm really awestruck. Uh, and yeah, no, all the best. And we hope to, we hope your voice never goes unheard. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me, Ragini. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.